Okay, everyone, sorry about that. As you know, my baby monitor is on. Okay, so let's continue from A18. A18, what if assumptions. Okay, and this is where it gets interesting. Okay, what if assumptions. Okay, what if assumptions, they come from the expenses. So we're going to just say copy, bonus, commission, kiosk rental, marketing, equipment. So we're going to just say copy, and we are going to paste it in A19 like this. But we need to add one or two in there. For example, we need to add sales revenue for bonus, and we need to add that below bonus. So how do you insert a row? Very easy. You just click on the row where you want it to be above of. In other words, I want it to be below bonus. So I will click in 20 and I will say insert. And then you'll see it inserts the row above my where I have clicked. Okay, so I want to insert sales revenue for bonus. Okay, and there is one more that I want to insert. Let me just see. I want to insert the word margin, and I want to insert that above bonus. So if I want to put it above bonus, I will select bonus, click on insert, and here I will say margin. Alright, as you can see, margin is not indented, so I will just go ahead and indent that. Okay, so our what if assumptions, these are the things that we are going to use for our absolute cell referencing. Okay, but you will see later on exactly how it works, but now we just need to enter our assumptions. For example, we're going to continue in B now because this is our next column. So we're going to enter our assumptions. The margin is 77.5%, 77.50%. I'm just entering it as they give it. The bonus is 5,000. As you can see, I'm entering it without anything, and then I'm just going to click on comma style so that it makes it comma style. So I'm entering just 5000. Sales revenue for bonus, that is 60,000. So we're going to say 60,000. And as I did with bonus, I'm just going to click on comma style to insert the spaces and things. The commission percentage is 30%. So I'll be saying 30%. I want 2 decimals. So please make sure that you also insert 2 decimals. Then we get 10% for kiosk rental, and then marketing would be 5%. Equipment repair and maintenance, that would be 4%. Alright, so these are our assumptions. Please make sure you enter them correctly, otherwise all your other stuff is going to be wrong, and you don't want that. So don't insert commas and spaces and things that you don't want. Make sure that you don't press a space whenever you enter a number. It may look like a space, but this space is simply a comma style space. It indicates 1,000 separator. Okay, so let's go and enter our values. These are the only values that you get. All the other things we will calculate. So our revenue for April is 45,000. So I'll be entering 45,000. For May, 52,000. For June, 67,500. Then 90,000. Then 77,500. And then 63,750. Okay, there's one other thing that we will enter later, and that is a total. Okay, we can enter it now, total, and you will notice that since all our titles are aligned, it will also align total to 45 degrees. Okay. Before we start our calculations, we are going to insert the system date. What is the system date? It is the current date, and it will change according to whenever you log into your computer. So the system date we will insert in H1, it seems, and we just simply type equal sign now. Okay, open close bracket, and you will see there we have a system date. And as you can see, it's 9 minutes past 10 on the 30th of August. Then we are going to change the way it displays, okay, by going to format cells. And then I'm just going to click on the number tab, go to date, and in date I'm going to change it to be just a normal date like that. No need for a time. So, alright, now in the textbook it says save. Okay, so if you haven't saved yet, it would be a good time to save. Okay, we are now going to start calculating everything in here. Alright, so we need to talk about absolute cell referencing. Now, in a normal situation, normally, in lesson 1, lesson 2, up till now, we have been calculating sum, average, max, min, and things like that. But we haven't yet calculated things a bit more complicated. And often we just select and we drag. Often we just do that. But it's not always possible to just do it like that. Sometimes we need assumptions, or we will be using assumptions at the bottom, which means that some cells will change and not stay exactly the same. Okay, so let's enter the first formula. Okay, I'll explain as we go along. So in B5, we're going to enter equal sign and then click in B4, multiply, bracket, 1 minus B19. Now, I said this before, you are never expected to memorize formulas because this is not maths, this is Excel. You need to know how to use Excel. I'm not going to expect you to memorize a formula, so I just need you to know how to use it. Okay, so if you look at this formula, okay, I'm just going to press enter and show you what's going to happen if I do it this way, which is the wrong way. Okay, so I'm going to say B4 times 1 minus B19. Okay, there is something in B19, I'm just showing you quickly, but there is nothing in C19, D19, E19, F19, G19. Okay, so I'm pressing enter. There's my answer. And you know by now that when we enter a formula once, we usually copy our formula to the end of the range. So when I copy, you will see it gives me different answers. Okay, so I'm looking very satisfied with myself, and I'm thinking to myself, this is working, but let's look at the formula behind each of these answers. When you look at this answer, you will see it has taken C4 and C19. Well, that's fine if they took C4, but there's nothing in C19. Okay, what happened here? They took D4, which is fine, and then D19, but there's nothing in D19 either, and there's nothing in E19, and there's nothing in F19, and G, and so it continues. So when we inserted this formula in cell B5, B4 can change to C4, D4, E4, F, because there is something in that cell. But B19 should have stayed fixed. And that cell value should have become an absolute cell reference. Now, how do you make something an absolute cell reference? It's actually so easy. You just click in between the B and the 19. You could also have selected before the B. Doesn't matter. I always just click in between the number and the alphabetical character. And then I press the function for key. And then you will see it inserts $1 before and after the B. Now B19 is going to remain fixed. Now let's see if it worked. Okay, so my answer won't change because it's still the same cell, but now I'm just redoing my copying, and now all my answers changed because B19 remained fixed. B19 remained fixed. B19 still the same all the way. It stayed B19. And that is why it is so important to remember when you use a cell from the bottom that has, or well, it has to stay fixed, but there's nothing in the cell next to it and next to it and next to it, then you know it has to be an absolute cell reference. Also, the ones next to it, you will notice that it did give me an answer. That is because it is seeing it as a 0, okay, a blank cell, and that is why it still worked. Okay, it is just not a correct answer. Okay, so that is that. So let's calculate our gross margin. So we're going to click equal sign B4 minus B5. Okay, now in this formula, there is no strange cell from the bottom. There in B4, B5, C4, C5, D4, and so on all the way, you have a cell value, which means that you don't need dollar signs or you don't need absolute cell referencing for that, because all the way you are all right. Okay, now we are continuing to our next section, which is the expenses. All right. Now, as if absolute cell referencing isn't difficult enough, now we're going to have an if statement. And actually an if statement is not that bad. An if statement consists out of three parts. First you have your test, then you have your value if it is true, and then you have your value if it is false. Okay, now let's read what's going on here. The if statement is like this. It says, if B4 is greater than or equal to B21, then display B20 in that cell. Otherwise, display a 0. So let's read it again. If B4, okay, this is B4. So if 45,000 is more or equal to B21, what do you see in B21? 60,000. Okay, so if it is more than 60,000 or equal to 60,000, then display B20. What do you see in B20? A 5,000. So in other words, they will receive a bonus if their revenue was more than 60,000 or 60,000. But they aren't. It isn't, because 45,000 is less than 60,000. So since it is false, it will display a 0. Okay, so how do you type that out? Okay, you're going to say like this. If, equal sign if. As soon as you see the function appear, double click on it, and here you will see your logical test, your value if it is true, and your value if it is false. I just want you to look at your own computer and then notice, does it give you a colon or a semicolon or a comma? Now, if you look on my computer, you will clearly see it's a semicolon in between these. It will say if logical test, semicolon, value if true, semicolon. So if your computer is showing you a comma, use a comma. If your computer is showing you a colon, use a colon. Otherwise, you will probably also use a semicolon. So what is the logical test? If B4 is greater than or equal to B21. So where did I get that greater than sign? It is next to M and question mark on your keyboard. So first you do the logical test. Then you put a semicolon. On my computer it's a semicolon, because it shows you that what is the value if it is true. So if this test is true, you are going to display B20. So they're getting a bonus. Okay, semicolon. If it is false, they get nothing. So you put down a 0. But we're not done. because we still need to insert our absolute cell values. So B4 will become C4, D4, E4, F4, but B21 cannot become C21. There is nothing in C21. So B21 must receive dollar signs, and P20 must receive dollar signs because there's nothing in C20, D20, E20, F20, and B21 must receive a dollar sign because there's nothing in C21, E21, and so it goes on, as you can see here at the bottom. Okay, so it gives you a 0, and that is correct because it is false. And if you copy this over to the other side, you will see that some of them will receive a bonus because their revenue is more than 60,000. So it is actually not difficult. One just needs to make sure that you understand the if statement. Okay, let's do the rest of the formulas. For commission, they all work the same way. Okay, so for commission, we just say equal sign. B4 multiply with B22, and as you can see, it's over here at the bottom. And then insert your dollar signs, press enter. Okay, for the next one, kiosk rental, once again, you say B4 multiply, and then you go down to B23 and you insert your dollar signs because there's nothing in C23, and so on and so on. Marketing, equal sign B4 multiply, and then you look for marketing at the bottom and you insert your dollar signs. Equipment, equal sign B4 multiply, look for equipment, that will be B5, and say F4, enter. Alright, and you can actually copy all of them at the same time like this, and you can check any of them. You will see that wherever you inserted the dollar sign, your cell value will stay fixed. Okay, now we get to total expenses. That is just a very normal sum. Okay, you can even click on auto sum and it will say this little range, and you can just say yes, you're right, that little range, and drag it out. Okay, operating income is a very easy little calculation. You are just going to say equal sign B6 minus B14, so that would be gross margin minus total expenses, and it gives you an answer like this. Alright, now we are left with the totals at the end. Okay, so we are going to go there, and this is actually so easy and so satisfying when you do it so quickly like this. You just select the whole range and then you click on auto sum, and then you instantly get all your answers. Just delete the ones where there's nothing, in other words the zeros, otherwise you're going to have a strange answer. Alright, so I'm going to stop here for now, and then I'm going to make a third video.